Hello everyone, I'm Professor S.R. Patil, Department of Computer Science and Engineering, BLDCET, Vijaypura. So I welcome you all for this cloud computing lecture. In today's class, in today's lecture, we are going to see what is like software as a service and platform as a service from the Google and software as a service and platform as a services from Microsoft, open source platform for private cloud. So we are going to see all these three contents in the today's lecture. So we'll move on to the first one, that is software as a service offered by Google. So there are many services are there. So here the Google's effort is concentrated in the areas of software as a service. It is estimated that the number of servers used by Google was close to 1.8 million in January 2012 and was expected to reach close to 2.4 million in early 2013. This was the data with respect to 2012 to 2013. So now we have the services such as Gmail we have. So most of we are aware of this. Then we have Google Docs, documents. Then we have Google Calendar. Then we have Picasa software for images. Then we have Google Groups. Then Google Maps, Google Drive. There are many others. We'll see one by one. Here you can just go through the first one. First one, that is okay. So Gmail. So Gmail, the services such as Gmail, Google Drive, Google Calendar, Picasa, and Google Groups are free of charge for individual users and available for a free for the organization. So these all the services that is offered by Google. So these all are free. Okay, so these services are running on a cloud and can be invoked from a broad spectrum of devices, including mobile ones such as iPhones, iPads, BlackBerry, and laptop and tablets as well. So the data for these services is stored in data centers on the cloud. So whatever these services which is used by the user, so all the data that is stored in a data center, we call it as a what? Cloud. Okay. We'll see one by one the services that is offered by the Google. The first one, that is, as I told you, Gmail. So Gmail hosts emails on Google servers and provides a web interface to access the email. So here, this is the service that is offered by the Google. So most of we are aware of the Gmail and we are using these services for personal as well as the for the organization purpose. This is all about the Gmail. Then we have the Google Docs. So Google Docs, the name itself will tell that is for the documentation purpose. It is a web-based software for building a text documents, spreadsheets, and presentations. So Google Docs, it supports the features such as tables, bullet points, basic fonts, and text sizes. And it also allows the multiple users to edit and update the same document and view the history of the document changes, and it provides a spell checker as well. The main like application of Google Doc, that is spell checker. Nowadays, okay, if you do some mistakes in spelling, it will highlight. Okay, so that is Google Doc make use of spell checker to rectify that. The services allow users to import and export files in several formats, including Microsoft Office, PDF file, text format. So these are some of the extensive, I can say, okay, extensive format for the documents. So this is all about the Google Docs. So next we'll have Google Calendar. So what is the role of the Google Calendar? It's a browser-based scheduler. It supports multiple user calendars. It calendar sharing. You can share the calendar, like event search, display of daily, weekly, monthly views, and so on. So this is about Google Calendar. Google Calendar is accessible from mobile devices. Event reminders can be issued via SMS, desktop pop-ups, or emails. So these all personal details, like any events, okay, if you store, okay, it will get the notification from the what Google Calendar. Next, we have the Picasa. Picasa, it's a tool to upload, share, and edit the images. So Picasa, it provides the 1 GB of disk space per usage per user, free of charge. So this is all about the Picasa. Next, we'll have the Google Groups. So we'll have a Google Groups, that is it allows. Group means what? Group means like a user will have a discussion. Okay, that is what we call it as a discussion forum. Okay, so it allows the users to host discussion forums, to create messages online or via email. Okay, so this is all about the Google Groups. Next, we'll have Google Maps. Okay, so this is very much helpful for the traveler. So one who doesn't know the travel like routes and all, so they may make use of this services that is offered by the Google. So how actually this Google Map works? So this is a like a web mapping service. It's a web mapping service, offers street maps. Okay, it offers street maps, a route planner for the traveler, and an urban business locator for numerous countries around the world. So this is all about the Google Maps. Move on to the next services that are offered by the Google. So next we have App Engine. Before we move to that, as I told you, Google is also a leader in the platform as a service. So platform as a service, we can call it as a App Engine. App Engine is a developer platform hosted on the cloud. Initially, it is supported only by Python, but supported for Java as well in these days. So this is about the App Engine. So as I told you, it is initially supported by Python. Later, okay, now Java also used. So the database for code development can be accessed with GQL. We call it as a Google Query Language with SQL. This is SQL stands for Structured Query Language. Okay, the syntax for GQL is almost similar to the SQL. So this is all about the App Engine. That is, it is one of the platform as a service. Next, we'll have Google Co-op. So this Google Co-op allows user to create customized search engines based on a set of facets or categories. So this is mainly used for what? For creating the like search engine. So this is like Google Co-op. Next, we have the Google Base. So what is the use of the Google Base? So Google Base, it allows users to load structured data from different sources to a central repository, a very large self-describing semi-structured heterogeneous database that we can store in a like centralized repository. This Google base, this Google base is accessed in response to keyword queries posted on google.com. So provided that there is a relevant data in the database. So it means that it accessed in response to keyword queries. So based on like one particular keyword, so we can access the relevant data. Suppose if I use the keyword like security in network, then I can get the all the details related to the security respect to network. So this is all about what Google base. So finally, we have the Google Drive. So Google Drive, it's like an online service for what mainly data storage. So we use this Google service for Google Drive, that is for data storage. Google Drive is an online service for data storage that has been available since 2012. It gives users 5 GB of free storage and charges $4 per month for 20 GB. If we need more space, then we can get the space. So we need to pay the like $4 per month for 20 GB. It is available for PCs, MacBooks, iPhones, iPads, and Android devices, and allow organization to purchase up to 16 terabyte of storage. So Google Drive, it offers up to 16 terabyte. So this much of data, I mean storage space we can purchase. So this service, these all are the services that are offered by the Google. So next we have platform as a service and software as a services from the Microsoft. So for as we have gone through the Google, the services offered by Google. Next we'll see the services offered by the Microsoft. So Azure and online services are respectively a platform as a service and software as a service cloud platforms from the Microsoft. So you might have heard the term Windows Azure. So here we have the Windows Azure. So Windows Azure is an operating system. It's an operating system. SQL Azure is a cloud-based version of the SQL Server. Azure App Fabric is a collection of services for cloud applications. So we have the terms, three components we have, that is compute, storage, then fabric controller. The role of the compute is like provides a computation environment. Storage, of course, this is for scalable storage. Then fabric controller, which deploys, manages, and monitors the application which are developed by the developer. So next we have the SQL Azure. SQL Azure, I have told you, it's a cloud-based version of the SQL Server. Then third, we have the Azure App Fabric. So this is formerly .NET Services. It's a collection of services for cloud applications. So here we have the components of Windows Azure. So the components, like first we have the compute. So you might have seen here compute. So this is a component which runs cloud applications. The operation of the compute is what it does, which runs the cloud applications. So next we have the storage. So this part. So storage, what it does, which uses blobs, tables, and queues to store the data. Okay. Then we have the fabric controller here. So what is the role of the fabric controller? It deploys, manages, and monitors the applications. We have the CDN here. So we'll see more about the CDN later. CDN, which maintains cache copies of data, and we have the connect as well here. The connect, what it does, which allows IP connections between the user system and applications running on Windows Azure. So these all are components of the Windows Azure. So here we can see in detail of each component. I was talking about the CDN. Okay, so what is the role of the CDN? What CDN does? CDN stands for, it's a content delivery network which maintains the cache copies of data to speed up computation. To speed up the computation, it plays very important role. The connect subsystems are there. No? So here we have the connect subsystem. So this connect subsystem supports IP connections between the user and their applications running on Windows Azure. So next we have some interfaces, that is application programming interface. We call it as a what? APIs. Okay. So API stands for what? Application programming program interface. This act as a API interface to Windows Azure, is built on REST HTTP. HTTP stands for what? Hypertext Transfer Protocol. And we have the XML. XML stands for what? Extensible Markup Language. So the platform includes 5 servers mainly. So that is live services, SQL Azure, App Fabric, SharePoint, and Dynamic CRM. A client library and tools are also provided for developing cloud application in Visual Studio. So I was talking about the component of the storage. There are like mainly how many components are there? We have 3: blobs, tables, and queues. So these blobs, tables, queues, and drives are used as a scalable storages. So these all are used as what? For scalable storages. So a blob, okay, we'll see one by one. Okay, here a blob contains binary data. A container consists of one or more blobs. So here this container consists of one or more blobs. So blobs can be up to a terabytes and they may have associated metadata. So metadata means what? The data which describes the other data. So that is with respect to the blob. So Blob allows Windows Azure role instances to interact with the persistent storage as though it were a local NTFS file system. So this is all about the blobs. Next we have the queues. Okay, so what is the role of the queue? So queue, it enables web role instances to communicate asynchronously with worker role instances. So here we are talking about the Microsoft Azure platform. Currently, this does not provide a support uh, any distributed parallel computing frameworks such as MapReduce, MPI, other than the support for implementing basic queue-based job scheduling. So this is all about the Microsoft Azure and components of the Microsoft Azure. So next we have the open source platform for private clouds. So we can see the open source platform for, so what are those private clouds? So here private clouds provide a cost effective alternative for very large organization. So cost effective means what? Okay, the most of the organization, they are not going to spend much money on the resources, can be like network, bandwidth, storage. Okay, so these we can, this for this we can call it as a cost effective. So here we have the open, like a private clouds, open source private clouds, that is Eucalyptus, Open Nebula, then Nimbus. Okay, so here open source cloud computing platforms, as I told you, Eucalyptus, Open Nebula, Nimbus can be used as a control infrastructure for a private cloud. Or these all three are what? These all three are control infrastructure for the private cloud. So here we'll see one by one. Eucalyptus can be regarded as an open source counterpart of Amazon EC2, that is Elastic Cloud Computing. Open Nebula, it's also a private cloud with users actually logging into a head nodes to access cloud functions. The system is centralized. The system is centralized and its default configuration uses the NFS file system. Then the third open source platform for private cloud, that is Nimbus, a cloud solution for scientific applications based on Globus software, inherits from the globals. So here, how actually this Nimbus works, the image storage, it's a image storage, and the credential for user authentication. Okay, it is used for like storage, then authentication means what? Providing the security. Only authorized person can able to access the data from the data centers. The requirement that a running Nimbus process can SSH, it's a like command. Okay, SSH is the command into all compute nodes. So this is all about the all the three open source platform for the private clouds. So we'll see more about the Eucalyptus. So here we have the more about the Eucalyptus, that is virtual machines. The virtual machines that includes virtual machines, node controller, cluster controller. Okay, these are the component of the Eucalyptus. So that is virtual machine, node controller, cluster controller, cloud controller, storage controller, and storage services. So we'll see each one by one. Virtual machine, it's run under several VMMs, including Xen, KVM, VMware. So next we have the node controller. Node controller which runs on server nodes hosting a virtual machine and controls the activities of the node. So it also reports to a cluster controller. The node controller, what it does, it reports the cluster controller. we'll see what is like cluster controller, how it works. So cluster controller, which controls the number of services, sorry, number of servers. So it also interacts with the node controller on each server to schedule requests on that node. Cluster controllers are managed by the cloud controller. So these cluster controller are managed by the cloud controller. So each components are like interrelated. Next we have the cloud controller. Okay, so how the cloud controller works? So it provides a cloud access to end users, developers, as well as the administrators. And it is accessible through command line tools compatible with EC2, that is Elastic Cloud Computing, and though a web-based dashboard. So using web-based dashboard, we can make use of the cloud controller. The next we have the storage controller. Storage controller, the name itself will tell, it provides a persistent virtual hard drives to application for storing. It is a correspondent to EBS. So EBS, like simple database SQS that we have gone through in the previous class. Next, we have the storage service. So storage service that provides a persistent storage similar to S3. Okay, I was talking about S3 SQS, a simple DB. It allows users to store objects in buckets. So here it mainly it allows the user to store any objects in the buckets. Okay, so this is all about the like Eucalyptus, the component of the Eucalyptus. Here the system supports a strong separation between the user space and the administration space. So users access the system via web interfaces, whereas administrator needs root services. So this is the difference between user and the administrator with respect to the Eucalyptus. So this is like Eucalyptus, how it looks like. I was talking about some of the like distributions here. So you can see these are the distributions like CentOS 5.6, these are the versions, RHEL versions 5.6, Ubuntu we have, okay, Ubuntu, like this is a LTS 10.04 version, 12.04 version, and the sources. So this is with respect to what? Eucalyptus. So this is a like data with respect to a side-by-side comparison of Eucalyptus, OpenNebula, and Nimbus. So this particular table, which summarizes the, as I told you, there are like Eucalyptus is there, OpenNebula, and Nimbus. So this is a side-by-side comparison with respect to design, okay, then cloud type, user population, application, customizability, internal security, user access, and network access. So here it summarizes the feature of the three systems. What are the three systems? Eucalyptus, OpenNebula, and Nimbus. Okay. The conclusions of the comparative analysis are as follows, like Eucalyptus is best suited for the large corporation. So here this Eucalyptus, this is best suited for what? It is suited for the large corporation with its own private cloud because it ensures a degree of protection from user malice and mistakes. So it provides the protection. So this is a what? It's a suited for the large corporation, not a small corporation. Next we have the OpenNebula. So OpenNebula is a best suited for a testing environment with a few servers. This is for the testing environment. Then next we have the Nimbus. Nimbus, it's like it's more adequate for a scientific community, less interested in the technical internals of the system than with the broad customization requirements. So these all are the like three comparison, a side by side comparison of Eucalyptus, OpenNebula, and Nimbus. Okay, thank you so much for your patience listening. If you like the video, please share the video, like this video, comment the video, and subscribe the channel. Thank you once again. Thank you.